I'll say, how are you all continuing your time as you create time to exist?
Very great.
Are you all alive?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, in this way, allow us to continue with the ideas we have been sharing this time of your time in your co-creation with your idea of what you call imagination briefly in this way. Now, this may seem, in your terminology, to appear to be, as you say, a big issue with us. In this way, realize, therefore, that simply the idea of your imagination is something that is far more than you have always held it to be in this way. As you have created your existence upon your planet in this way, many thousands of years of your existence, in assuming that the idea you call your imagination does not represent what you deem to be the real reality of life in this way, you are now beginning, through the blending, through the searching, through the growing of your spiritual awareness of yourself in this way, to recognize that that which you have called imagination, in very many ways, is a representation of a reality just as real as any you consider to be physical upon your planet. Your dreams, your imagination, are the dimensions from which your physical reality comes from anyway. Recognize in this way that what you have heard for a very long time of your time as you create time to exist, the idea of your physical reality being an illusion in this way, it is thus, but also it is the real reality you experience. Also it is a product of your imagination in this way. Recognize that the idea you call your physical reality is not something which exists apart from you in this way. It is a projection from you, from your idea about what you think reality should be for you. And what you experience is completely and totally, underline that as many times as you care to, totally a product of what you believe your reality should be, whether it is a conscious belief or a subconscious or an unconscious belief. Even the very idea of allowing yourself to experience the physical reality you have been experiencing for tens of thousands of your years of time, even the idea that you have a consciousness outwardly, a subconsciousness, and unconsciousness, even that is the product of a belief. For there really in this way is truly no separation, no divisions within the oneness of the consciousness that you are. Are you all following along so far?
Yes.
In this way, you can simply recognize that now that you are forming this idea of an integration, what you call New Age awareness, which we refer to as the idea of the transformation or transition from third density reality, the physical reality you are used to experiencing, the idea of the physical universe being outside yourself, transformation to fourth density reality, the realization that the universe is within you and is a projection from the idea you hold it to be. You can recognize, therefore, that since you know these ideas are coming from within you, since reality is a projection in that way, then what you imagine within your dream consciousness, within all the ideas that you have held yourself to be as an imaginary being, can be a reality for you that you can experience just as physiologically, really, as you have experienced anything in your life, for everything you have experienced in your life has been the product of your imagination, though the game you have been playing in your physical reality is not to remember that you are creating everything you experience in your physical reality. This has served the purpose for you to play the game of forgetting that you are the creator of your reality. Now you are at the end of that cycle. And in this way, you can see this is why you are finding in your physical reality many more implications, many more activities, many more opportunities for you to remember who and what you are. For understand that all learning is only remembering more and more and more of the being that you actually are. You follow me?
Yes.
Sharing!
Sure.
You, then you.
Are you wound up tonight, or is it just my imagination?
Understand in this way that we are always willing to assist in the reflection of the degree of the mass conscious energy assembled at any period of time, this evening being in this way a collection of many entities representing an acceleration in the mass consciousness. You follow me?
Yes. Is that a yes or a no?
Yes. Was that your question?
No, that wasn't.
Thank you.
I think it was last week you talked about the original use of pyramids both in Egypt and in
Atlantis.
And I wanted to ask what were obelisks used for in Egypt and or Atlantis?
Thank you.
And the relationship between those and pyramids.
All right. Thank you. Now, in a sense, they will represent, in your Egyptian phase, a remnant technology, what was remembered of the idea of the crystalline transmitters that did transmit the crystalline energy, the light energy that was transferred through the crystalline energies into electromotive force through the airwaves to power many of the craft that existed at that time in the air, on the land, and under the ocean, and upon the waters. You follow me?
Yes.
In Atlantis, they actually did exist in crystalline form in this way, and were, as you would understand it, broadcast systems, antennas for that energy. You follow me?
Yes.
Only in the Egyptian time, when the technology was, as you say, forgotten, did they remember the size and the shape and the general configuration of the idea, but did not have the crystalline technology to exemplify, nor within their pyramids the exact replication of the idea of technology that was utilized in Atlantis. It was hoped by them that they did, and in a sense they captured some of it, but they had to redirect it in other ways, as again the technology was not exemplified nor recreated exactly as it had existed in that Atlantean time.
So does that mean then the Egyptian obelisks were just facsimiles of...
In a sense, yes. And also, to some degree, so were the pyramids. For in this way, many of the Atlantean pyramids also contained much of the idea of crystalline structure, and many different kinds of metals in this way, more than the idea of what you call the stone, though many of them were basically foundationally constructed of stone. You follow me?
Yes.
Well, does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who and what are we exactly from your viewpoint, Bashar?
Who and what?
Yes.
You are creators.
Are we not what we create ourselves to be at any given moment?
Yes.
Good. Why is the physical universe not malleable to instantaneous creation without argument?
In this way, you will find that is simply the idea you have been playing out. You created for yourselves the type of universe that would allow you to feel that you were not the creator of it, because that is one experience that you chose to experience in the experiences that go into making up all the experiences within creation. That is simply where you are now.
And why don't I go instantaneously into agreement and memory with that concept when you feed it to me?
Now, in this way, simply understand that by definition, because you are here, you have agreed to be here. Mm-hmm. Both in this interaction and upon your planet in physical life. It is simply that your higher self knows that it has made an agreement, whether your physiological personality ego structure chooses to remember so or not.
Okay. One more question. Can you give me the anatomy of love?
Love! Anatomy! Interesting question. Mm-hmm. Understand, love is what you are made of. Love is the substance of creation. You are love. You are light. Light is love. Love is light. In this way, it is simply the vibration that creation recognizes itself, creates itself, perpetuates itself in that way. It is the substance of the universe.
And how about the concept of true love? Like I've met a person at times and you have this phenomenal feeling of love that does not occur with someone else. Why is that?
You are vibrating synchronistically in identical purpose.
Thank you. Understood.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You, then you.
Would you talk briefly on what has been termed the causal plane?
In this way, to some degree, you will find that it is somewhat representative of the idea we are calling the blueprint, or the template of existence in this sense. You will find that it is one of the structures, one of the strata, if you will, wherein the initiation of the ideas that are experienced in the mental, the etheric, and the astral planes in this way, and the physical plane, are, let us say, born, constructed, and then projected through the different denser materialities until they reach the physical plane. You follow me?
Yes, I do.
Will that suffice?
Yes, it will. One more question.
All right.
I don't know if it's really feasible to answer this question in a linear manner, but the question is asked in a linear answer. For children who select parents who are subsequently to break up, do they also select the subsequent partners of those parents as the parents find new partners?
To some degree, yes.
To what degree, and how does that work?
In this way, there is the general understanding that there will be a disassociation and a reassociation that will carry with it the necessary ideas for which that child agreed to associate with those beings in the first place.
I see. But specifics are not necessarily understood or...
No, because the specifics, the exact fundamental how you choose to play out those generalized understandings are the product of the free will of the physiological consciousnesses.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. The first is just a comment that I wasn't aware of when you talked about the space shuttle and the significance of the symbol 10.
Yes.
You said, it happened on the 28th, and that's 2, and 8 is 10. If it happened on the 27th, it could be in January 27th, that would be 10 as well. What I found much more significant is that it was the 10th mission of the Challenger.
Oh, right, very good. You found another one.
And that it happened exactly 73 seconds after takeoff.
All right, very good.
To me, that seemed very much, more powerful than the 28th of January.
All right, do not forget in this way that it was 19 years previously that you had your first mishap. 9 and 1 is 10. Right. And in this way it was 7 this time and 3 the first time. 7 and 3 is 10. There are many patterns of this nature involved within that structure.
And it was also the 25th mission overall of the shuttle, which was 7, which is also significant.
In terms of the account of the beings in your term, there was a reflection there of parallelity for them, yes.
Right. Anyway, that was just a comment I thought.
Thank you very much for your sharing and your willingness to discover more reflections of the patterns that you create for yourselves within your society.
I also have another question. A while back, you said that none of us is indigenous to Earth, basically.
Basically.
And I was wondering, did you say that to the people in the room or no Earth people?
No Earth people.
Because I have a friend who has a concept that's always bothered me, and I don't know that I believe it. I don't think I do, but I want to ask you about it.
Oh, right.
That there are people or humans that really don't really exist, that they're sort of empty.
Empty?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what she means, but...
Black holes in space.
Well, and then sometimes I've talked to other people and mentioned that concept, and they say, well, yeah, sometimes you meet people and you know there's nothing inside, that they have no soul, basically. I mean, basically that we create...
All right, now understand to some degree there can be the idea of extensions that serve certain purposes in this way. You will find simply also that it might be, let us say, easier for you to understand the concept if, although I know it does exist as a symbol in your physical reality that a soul occupies a body, but rather than that, simply recognize a body as a soul. Understand that nothing really occupies the body per se, in an ultimate sense. The body, what you see as the physical form, is the representation of the soul in physical reality.
So there's no way that we can create people that we meet who are no souls.
You can create that effect.
Okay.
But in this way, everything you encounter in that way is of soul substance.
Okay.
Now, you can find that from time to time there may be different reasons for why you experience these kinds of individuals. One of them can be what we call the aspect of bilocation. In this way, you will find that the idea is that an individual will project a probability of themselves out into the world, and it will seem to be alive in this way. But in many aspects, it is, in your terminologies, a golem. You follow me?
Yes.
A simulacrum, a model, a representational shell, in a sense, of the being that is original to your planet, that was actually, let us say, born there. They can project themselves into two places at one time, and for all intents and purposes can be perceived as the physical being, even though in your terms it is not actually the original, so to speak. This has happened from time to time in your society, perhaps many more times than you realize in this way. Now, you will find that sometimes the idea that they are not, in your terms, perceived as the original of the soul that was born will give them or impart to you a quality of lifelessness to them. You follow me?
Yeah, that must be it.
It can be one of the reasons.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You.
I'd like to know if you could recommend any ways or exercises in which we might contact or remember our higher selves.
All right, now, first of all, we have spoken many times of the idea that your imagination was designed by you to serve all of those types of purposes specifically. Your imagination is the tool, the primary universal tool that is attuned to the vibration of your being. Thus, whatever you can imagine might be a way that seems to work for you with regard to any endeavor you wish to undertake can come through your imagination, and if you are but willing to trust that your imagination will always give you the information that is correct for you, then you can simply act upon what your imagination gives you. Do you follow me so far?
Well, kind of, but when we hardly know what our higher selves are.
All right. But in this way, do not put, as you say, the cart before the horse. You, in many ways, are in a sense still the higher self, though you have created the idea that you are not connected. You are. Now, the higher self knows that you are connected. You can simply create the idea that you can know whether you feel consciously the idea or not. You can simply know, at least as you say, from ground zero, that you are connected to the higher self and not ever really separated, except by the illusion of separation that you create. Do you follow me so far?
Yes, I think faith is an important part.
Oh, very good. An important part indeed. Faith, trust is all there is. That is it. Faith and trust are the mechanisms. They are the activating mechanisms of the type of reality that you experience. They activate what you believe your reality to be. It is that knowingness, that faith, that assumption of the connection existing already that allows you to begin to feel it, to perceive it, to see it in your physical reality. For when you are willing to act as if the connection is real, that you have never really lost it, then because your physical reality is a projection, is a shadow of your soul, is a shadow of the higher knowing self, then if you are willing to act as that connection does exist, then your physical reality has no choice but to reflect to you all of the circumstances and opportunities and situations and relationships that will show you, in no uncertain terms whatsoever, that you are in fact connected to your higher self. Now, one way that is becoming prominent in your society for you to recognize that you are connected to your higher self all the time is the increase of what is called synchronicity in your society, or what we call the ecstatic explosion of coincidence. Simply finding yourself always in the right place at the right time and attracting exactly all the right individuals that you can be of service to, that can be of service to you, exactly when and where you need to. And allowing yourself to know that this is a result. Anytime you experience that synchronicity, that coincidental idea, it is not an accident. It is the result of your willingness in that moment to align with the understanding that you are connected. One indivisible idea with your higher self, and that you can choose to function in that manner constantly with your own ecstasy in the physical reality. Are you catching all of this?
Yes.
How does that idea feel?
Good, thank you.
Will that for you serve the idea?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, understand that you are always going to be expanding upon that idea within yourself. Allow your dream and imagination dimensions of reality to assist you in that way. That is what they are for. They are real realities, and simply you can understand this. If you can imagine an idea, if you can even conceive of an idea, you have to be that idea in order to perceive it. You follow me? Therefore, if you can imagine that at some point in your far-flung future you will be a being who understands the connection to your higher self, then in the second you make that analogy, you actually are that being. And only the assumption that you have to do something extra to work towards becoming that being is what keeps you from recognizing that in the second you realize that idea, you actually are that being. And that realization is not the beginning of a process, but the end. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I'm feeling very good at the moment.
Thank you.
But I want to share what I...
Very clear.
Yet, I want to share with you how I've been feeling during the week.
By all means.
Okay, on Saturday during my channeling class that I take, an entity named Torah led me to a past life which was on a planet, she said it was connected with Pleiades, and it was a life where my job was to experiment with consciousness and to do experiments, different experiments that had to do with consciousness.
All right.
Okay, and at one point I had lost my life. Well, I had left the physical plane because of an experience I was having that was so ecstatic that they couldn't call me back. I just went with it and kind of left the physical universe and I guess went into that essence.
Always a rebel.
Anyway, I thought I would feel like a big release from that story, and what happened is I feel intense sadness with spurts of joy at times. But
Intense sadness with spurts of joy. Very creative. Now, understand, first of all, that much of what you are going through in the feeling of that sadness is a type of release, but simply not the type you expected in this way, because you are still coming to the idea, the understanding of the totality of what it is you were doing there in that way. Now, understand also this idea. You were experimenting with the ideas of different forms of consciousness. The idea you find yourself to be right now can be considered one of those ideas, one of those experiments. You follow me? Mm-hmm. But in this way, you simply took the opportunity, rather than, in your terms, what seemed to be an empirical observation of gaining that experience firsthand. You follow me?
no, I got lost.
All right, you got lost. All right, in his name. Now, understand the idea simply is this. You chose, instead of observing the experiment, to become one of the experiments. In a sense, let us say, the habit of judgment that you have learned to create in this civilization in which you now find yourself, the habit of judgment is what is allowing you to create the idea of regretting ever having left where you came from. And that is the sadness that you feel.
That's right, I do.
All right. All right. Perk up. Now, understand that you are your very own, cherished, grand experiment as this life. The being that you are and the being that you were there are in agreement that this is serving you in a loving way. And that the more you allow yourself to simply recognize that this is serving you, then the more integration you allow into the experiment, the more totally connected you can be to that other aspect of yourself in that way. And in your terms, the more you will allow the experiment to be successful. And that will give you joy here and there. You follow me?
Yeah, so this intense feeling of sadness is a temporary...
'Tis a remnant, again, of the habit of judgment that you have learned in this society.
It feels so strong, I feel like it's never going to go away or something. It feels so, it just feels like such a way of life, kind of, that
You can create it to be a way of life. But allow me to suggest that in my perception, letting it linger for very long would not really serve the experiment you have chosen to be for yourself. You do not sound so sad now.
Is there any assistance you could give me in releasing this idea? Because right now I feel very stuck here, like I want out of this whole reality, and I want out of this whole earth plane.
All right. Stand up.
He's having a good time.
So am I. What moment is it right now?
This moment.
Yes, and now what moment is it?
This moment.
Oh, really? And now what moment is it?
This moment.
Is this moment the same moment that was the moment before?
It doesn't matter. It's this moment.
All right. Therefore, it is not the same moment, is it?
In a sense.
Oh. All right. All right. Now, therefore, that creation of continuity is what is allowing you to remain stuck. This moment is this moment, and this one is this one, and it is not the one that was before, for there is no before.
Okay.
Therefore, in this way, you can understand that only you are determining to create your own sense of the fact that you are still in the same place you were a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the same Earth. Nor is this one, nor this one, nor this one. Nor are you the same individual now, or now, that you were.
Okay.
Therefore, if you wish, be this new individual that is not connected to the idea of the past.
Mm-hmm.
For the present, as we have said, is not a result of the past,
Right.
unless you choose to think that it is.
Mm-hmm.
For now is the only moment in which you ever exist. And now, and now, and now. Now, it is up to you to determine how you choose to define the you that you are at every given newly created, eternally now moment. You may sit down. Now, it is up to you to ask yourself why you should choose to assume that you think you are the same and in the same situation. Why not allow yourself to channel through yourself the ecstasy of the constantly created moment? Constantly created anew. Over and over and over and over again. Understand, this is why we enjoy every interaction that we have with you, no matter how, in your terms, long it seems to take. We do not need patience to deal with you. No matter how many times, so to speak, someone may ask what seems to be the same question, to me it is not the same question, because it is not the same person. Do you follow me?
Yes. Yes.
Therefore, you can simply allow yourself to define the you wish to be every moment you choose to let it cross your mind.
Okay.
Now, the freedom you allow yourself in the range of definition, the freedom in the range of definition will determine the amount that you choose to feel that you are in the same place or not. So be creative with your definitions. All right?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You!
Good evening. I was wondering, is there a way we can accelerate the crystallization of our cellular embodiment? Is there a way we can, by food or by imagining it or by raising...
Any symbol will work for you if your imagination tells you that is something that would help you. In this way, simply by flowing with the ideas you create for yourself, that is the way to accelerate. By being who you are, being true to yourself. You follow me?
We'll automatically progress.
Of course.
Okay. In a related question then, there's an idea that believed by Einstein and Tesla and even Marconi that an electronic device can be built to communicate with the other side, the astral plane.
To some extent, yes.
There are a couple of inventors now working on that. Is their search fruitful, or will it be fruitful, or is there any light you could shed on that idea?
They may also look into modulations of infrared light. For in this way, that frequency can, to some extent, be sensed on what you call the other side and be utilized by what you call the other side for communication in the modulation of that frequency. Do you follow me?
Yes, but that's kind of such a general statement.
Yes.
Do you choose to get any more specific than that, or?
Not really. Understand in this way, it is the process that is ongoing, and much of what will be discovered in this way, in their explorations, will have to do with what they discover about communication within themselves, to all the different levels within themselves.
So it goes back to where you said that we have to include consciousness in our general theory of physics.
Always.
Yes. Well, that's interesting. Okay, that's all related then. One more short thing. You've spoken many times about your tetrahedral transmitters made up of small little tetrahedrals.
Yes.
You talk about a copper rod that goes down the center of each small tetrahedron.
Yes.
What is the method by which that copper rod is connected to the tetrahedron? Is it just touching, or is it welded, connected?
In this way, you will find that there is within each tetrahedron what you call a base plate. You follow me?
The base, yes.
Which is touching the base along the lines of the three sides of each tetrahedron.
Right.
It is also touching the rod at its base. And
I see.
the rod goes up through the apex of each tetrahedral pyramid, but does not touch the material of which the rod and the tetrahedron are made, but passes through what you would call an insulator.
Oh, and each small tetrahedra is that way?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. Okay, thank you.
You.
Sure.
You. Then you.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's true that you're in communication with the soul of each person that's in this room. Is that true?
Aspects of it.
So if someone were to ask you a question, you would actually get the answer from the soul of that person.
In a sense.
What do you mean, in a sense?
Sometimes it can be many different variations of an idea. It can be the information that is representative of the co-creation of our blended souls, yours, mine. Can be from the idea of what I would call my own higher consciousness. Can be from your higher consciousness, your oversoul, many different aspects depending upon the purposes and the interrelationships that the information has to do with. Also, many times, there will not be the information if in that way we have chosen to limit ourselves in not acquiring information that would interfere with the process that you are in the middle of.
Right. Okay, good. One other question. I wanted you to elaborate on something you said last week. You said no situation needs to be consciously controlled in order to be realized.
Yes. In this way, simply recognize that if you know that everything that occurs in your life is already the result of your mastery, your commandment, your control of the idea of being here in the first place, then there is no need to exercise a conscious domination over the situation to force it to become what you will. For what it is representative of what you want in that moment. Follow me.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. First, possibly what is only an observation. It struck me a number of years ago that planes fly only because people believe they do. It has really nothing to do with the aerodynamics in the wing.
One moment. In a basic fundamental sense, that is accurate. But recognize that as an entire group consciousness, as an entire universal soul, you have all agreed that the particular universe in which you are playing has certain ideas that you have called laws of physics. And so on that fundamental level, it is a reflection of those laws that are subconsciously ingrained within your understanding of being in this physical reality. Yes, it is a product of the idea of what you created the universe to be. But in this sense, it is not a product specifically of the idea of your physiological personality construct belief structure below a certain threshold.
Okay. But let me come at this a different way. Is the technology of any civilization merely a reflection of the state of spiritual evolution of the mass consciousness of that civilization?
Oh yes, by all means. Now, in this way, you will find that there are different universes, and in a sense, though we are each our own universe, in the overall sense, let us say, of your mass-conscious civilization and our mass-conscious civilization, even though we are on different vibratory frequencies, we do, let us say, at a certain level, share the same basic understanding of the universe. Therefore, you will understand that though our technology is a reflection of our understanding of the universe, it does not, in your terms, violate any of the basic understandings that you and our civilization have agreed to abide by in terms of what you call the laws of physics. It is simply a different way to look at that idea.
So it will be possible for our civilization to evolve toward higher levels of technology that you your civilization.
Oh, yes. And you will find that, though many of you may not know it, you have already done many of those things already. Simply the structure of your society will not allow that to be known yet.
I understand. Okay, I have another question on a totally different subject. John, when I experience an attraction toward another person,
yes,
love, affinity, or whatever,
yes.
I can find that the source of that feeling or sensation resides in different areas of my body, and I wonder if you have an idea about why that's... In other words, with one person it might be in my shoulder, and another person in the back of my head.
Simply in this way, you are an energy structure. And as you define the purposes for which you have co-created that interaction with that other being, you will simply find that the balance and flow of the cycles and patterns of energy that you consider to be your body, the inflow and the outflow and the fluctuation of this energy as it connects to those other beings, will shift and change its balances and change its focal points, and all these different ideas of eddies and currents do exist within the energy flow of the being that you are. So if you are sensitive to the shifting of those energies in that way, in the co-creation of any particular experience, you may simply get the sensation that one portion of your body is now functioning like another portion in that sense.
I see. Thank you.
And for you, it can, if you allow your intuition and your instinct and your imagination to have the free rein, it can be symbolically representative of many of the purposes for which the particular interaction is taking place. You follow me?
Yes.
In other words, the idea that perhaps if you are feeling it from here, it may be that it is the idea of someone having a shoulder to lean on that will be exemplified in that relationship. The idea perhaps of carrying burdens, or the ideas of removing them from your shoulders for which this relationship has been created. You understand?
I understand. I've also noticed, though, that in relation to, say, one person,
yes,
different parts of my, what seem, it's not as if it's literally, physiologically in my body, but as if it's located in some spiritual dimension.
Well, again, understand that even what you consider to be the same person is never the same person.
No, I understand. I want to get to this.
Oh, all right.
In relation to one person over there, quote, one person,
yes, quote,
I will find different parts of my body having different responses.
Yes. At different times, do you mean?
No, simultaneously.
All right.
There'll be, maybe my head will be having one response and my spine will be having another response.
All right. Then you are simply differentiating between the different ideas of communication going on within the different levels of your consciousness.
That's simple. Thank you.
It usually always is. Thank you.
Bashar?
You, then you.
Could you explain to me the mathematical equation phi, is that the correct pronunciation, 1 to 1.618, its effect on an octahedron, would it have the same effect on a tetrahedron? And the difference between the tetrahedron and the octahedron, or a three-sided and four-sided pyramid?
Now, in this way, first of all, understand that there is not much of what you call your mathematical terminology existent within the memory banks of the channel, and so we do not have access in that way to your terminology. In this sense, however, you will find that anything that you call a transcendental representation or number in this way will allow you to understand that that is a representation of the boundary lines, so to speak, the doorways out of and into what you define to be your particular reality universe. In this way, the relationship that it may have to the tetrahedral or octahedral structure in that sense is simply that all those structures are different aspect reflections of what we call to be the primary template configuration mathematical relationship. And in this way, they are simply different phases, different, in a sense, in your terms, in your universe, different 90-degree phases or functions of the primal understanding of the cycle of creation itself, which is a transcendental mathematical equation in and of itself. Now, did that carry across any sense in your language at all?
Yes and no. I completely forgot about the mathematical equation because it wouldn't make any impact on me whatsoever. But in looking at the picture of the octahedron, it does have the spirals, and it says this is called phi, and it does have this mathematical equation. And I started looking at it that it crosses through the 7 chakra areas
Yes.
of the octahedron. So I can understand what you're saying, that it is like the universal template. Is that also, do we have that around our Earth, that it goes around the 7 chakra areas or
Yes.
energized points? Does it have to be through those chakra areas, or is it just the idea of how many times this thing wraps around the octahedron?
It is, in a sense, both, and also the idea of the direction. Recognize in this way that you create the idea of crystalline formation within the homogeneous universal primal energy out of which your physical reality is created. And in this way, the crystallization will take various formulations depending upon the type of representational energy that is being created. In this way, you will find that what you call your octahedron, or the double form, four-sided pyramid base to base, will be one of the representations of the idea of the electromagnetic energy structure of your civilization's reality. This is why you will find that what you call your natural magnetic crystal is a double four-sided pyramid base to base. What you call your lodestone crystal. You follow me? In this way, the tetrahedron will be more, let us say, accurately representative of the actual raw template itself. And thus, that is what will usually exemplify the activity of the spiraling or the motion of the energy that you find even associated with the octahedral structure.
Does that spiraling energy affect only the octahedron or tetrahedron, or can...
Oh, it affects all.
Can it affect just the pyramid itself, 3-sided or 4-sided?
Understand that, in a sense, it is not that it affects them. It is a byproduct of the expression of those crystalline forms. Thus, it is expressing through them. You follow me?
Yeah, so, in other words, if I'm going to construct a pyramid...
How many sides?
3 or 4.
All right. Which one?
Well, what's the difference, except for the one side? Is there...
All right. In this way, as we have said, the four-sided pyramid will, let me be very colloquial in this sense, the four-sided pyramid is more a lens for the electromagnetic field of your planet. The three-sided pyramid is more of a lens for the mental field of your planet.
Okay. I'm going to construct a 4-sided pyramid.
All right.
Remember we talked about before using fiber optics? If I were to use fiber optics, see, I thought I could get this fiber optic and wrap it around the pyramid according to this mathematical equation and have some kind of extra added effect.
Yes, in a sense you will. Now, whether you have the equipment to measure it or not is up to you. Now, understand to some degree, this is what occurs within the hull of our spacecraft. Within the 11 layers of the hull, there is that wrapping effect of something similar to the idea you are calling your fiber optic. And in this way, what is occurring is it acts as a transmission facilitator or cohesiveness or coherency modulator for the energy that is transmitted from the central fusion rod, the amplified light that is carried into the craft in this way. You will find that the field round and about the craft and what will be a similar field round and about that pyramid wrapped with your fiber optic, though again, whether you can measure it, we do not know. But in this way, the field will represent a different type of coherent light on a different level altogether, reinforcing itself 90 degrees out of phase of the direction in which it is transmitted. Does this make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and experiment again. Let your imagination be your guide. For any time you create within yourself the idea or are attracted to any particular notion of that sort, it obviously serves a purpose. And will always serve a purpose within you, even if it does not manifest outside of you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much.
because of a higher self to choose, to make choices
Yes.
about our life?
Absolutely. You are always doing so anyway. We are simply being allowed by you to reflect back to you what you already know in a conscious format so that you can remember that you are the creator of your life anyway.
And that will include whatever it is that makes up who I am. Does that higher self, that includes whatever past lives I have lived?
Yes, if you wish to make that connection, yes. Now understand that you as a personality are, in a sense, the higher self artificial construct. Now, these are all vague labels, but they may serve to symbolize an idea by analogy in your terminology. The personality construct is not who nor what you are. The personality construct that you find yourself being in this life is the product of three ideas. You are, in a sense, a prism for the higher consciousness, allowing the white light, the blended light of the higher consciousness to channel through you and create the spectrum of all the differentiation you find to exist within this physical reality. The prism, the three-cornered prism of your artificial personality construct, the you think you are here as a being, the ego structure, is formed of these three things: belief, emotion, and thought. And those three things go together to create the type of experiential physiological reality you think represents the real reality you are living in. And when you change the idea of yourself as a total being, then the personality construct, simply being a reflection, or let us say, an outlet for the soul and physical reality, will change its construction. And as it changes its construction, the reality that it perceives will also change, because the reality you perceive is totally based upon what you believe, feel, and think yourself to be as a being in physical reality. So by all means recognize that you are constantly making choices in this way as to exactly what type of reality you do decide to experience.
Oh, okay. I have a question about my name. My name is Fiamma.
Fiamma.
Yes. I introduced myself to someone this evening here, and my name in this existence as I know it, this personality, as you just said, as I know myself to be now, that name has always had a very profound effect on my life.
Such as?
I don't know if it's something I can explain. I've always felt as if that name and who I am are directly...
All right. In other words, you feel that the vibratory quality that you are ascribing to the name symbol represents a vibratory quality that extends beyond just the physiological personality.
I don't know. Is that possible?
Yes.
It is.
Oh, yes. Understand that each and every one of you, even as a higher self, as a soul form, are, or is, in a sense, composed of the idea of vibration, tonality, patterns of energy. And in this way, patterns and vibrations can have a tonality symbology, and therefore you can, in a sense, have a soul name as well as a physiological name, and sometimes they can be one and the same name. Thus, you may simply find that when you evoke the idea of that tonality of your name, it will also, let us say, strike a chord in the higher essence of your being as well. So you have given yourself the opportunity to be born into a life wherein a name was chosen in that way by you and seemingly for you from the parents that you chose in this way, so that you would have a symbol, very clear symbol, crystal clear symbol, to know that you are always aligned with your higher self. A very, very creative and clever way to go about it.
Does my name mean something to you? Does it have any significance at all to you?
Say it out of your own mouth once again.
Fiamma.
One more time.
Fiamma.
And once again.
Fiamma.
That which reflects itself.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. 'Tis your creation. Thank you for sharing.
Bashar.
Yes.
To what degree To what degree are our lives actually directed by our higher consciousness?
All right, thank you very much. Now, as we have said, there are two types of free will. The free will of the higher consciousness and the free will of the physiological personality. Now, much of the idea of the free will of the higher consciousness may seem like predestination to the physiological personality because the physiological personality is subject to the free will of the higher consciousness. But in this way, the free will of the higher consciousness is laid out in very generalized terms. In other words, your higher consciousness may deem that it wishes to experience as a personality in physical reality some very basic, fundamental understanding or concept. The idea is simply that that overall concept will, without shadow of a doubt, be what the physiological personality does experience or does allow itself to become exposed to or live through in the physical life. How you go through that experience, how you experience the general idea chosen by the higher consciousness is totally and completely up to the physiological personality's free will here in this physical reality. So in other words, as we have said by analogy, your higher consciousness may deem that you will walk down a certain hallway. So walk down that hallway you will. But it is up to your physiological choice whether to make it a good experience, a bad experience, positive, negative experience, walk, run, crawl, fly, backwards, upside down, take more time, take less time, be a drag, be a bore, be exciting, be ecstatic, walk through the walls, in and out, sink through the floor, up and down, fill the hallway with water and swim. All of those choices as to how to experience the hallway is up to the free will of your physiological personality, but experience the hallway you will. For that was the will of your higher consciousness. Does that clarify the idea?
Yeah, that is great. But now, I wonder then would there be gaps between the generalized experiences that the higher consciousness wants that are perhaps left up to chance? It's pretty much like your physiological personality is on its own.
In a sense, yes, it is to some degree a random factor in that way.
Okay, so if we are in touch pretty much with our higher consciousness, we can actually be directed pretty much on a daily basis.
Not so much directed. We would prefer, you understand the idea that you are consciously in synchronous agreement with it, not directed by it.
Right.
Because that idea removes the notion that you do have the ability to make a choice.
Right.
Therefore,
influence.
No. Conscious agreement, not influence. In your terminology, in your language, influence implies that you have no choice in being influenced. You follow me?
Okay.
You have choice.
Okay.
Therefore, if you choose to be directed, if you choose to be influenced by it, you are still making a choice, and so it is actually under your control to be influenced or directed.
Yeah.
You follow me? You are never out of control. You may, with your mastery of control over life, create a situation in which it seems like you are out of control for the purpose of experiencing that idea and deciding whether you prefer that or not. But in this way, you are still in control of that experiment. Now, by allowing yourself conscious agreement with the overall understanding of the experience that your higher self has chosen to add to its sense of growth, then you can experience it always in a positive fashion and in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Right.
Because timing, the experience of the event itself, timing is what counts. Time is simply reflective, how much or how little, reflective of how willing or not you are to function within the understanding that the purposes in your life can be served in integration and ecstasy rather than choosing separation, limitation, judgment. You follow me?
Right. So the ecstatic explosion of coincidence could pretty much be a daily occurrence.
Moment by moment.
Right. So that's when you're connected pretty well, consciously.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you may all take a short break. Allow me to say in this way that, as was mentioned this evening of your time, in that sense, the idea of the transformation, the acceleration of your own energy in this way into a more fourth density state, the idea of a crystalline form in that way, you are becoming more and more crystalline in that way. This is one of the reasons for your fascination with the idea of the symbols of crystals at this time in this way, for you recognize their ability in this way to focus the idea of fourth density energy in a more, as you would say, pure fashion in this sense. Each and every one of you are becoming more crystalline in this sense, more an idea of the refined matrix of energy that you recognize yourselves to be as an energy being. Now, in this way, you will find that as an individual, this night of your time asked about the idea of methods in which this idea can be accelerated, by which you can recognize yourself more as the crystalline form, more as the fourth density state. Recognize, of course, first and foremost, that any idea which comes out of our imagination is, yet again, simply but another symbol, but in this way, there are ideas that are shared by our mass consciousness and your mass consciousness, which we can partake of in terms of the idea of a so-called imagination exercise in this way, and you will find that, if you will allow me to do so in this way, we can together ecstatically create an idea that you may find enjoyable, all right. Now, in this way, therefore, recognize that what will be occurring is this. First of all, you recognize that the physiological being sitting before you is channeling my consciousness. At this time, I, as well, will channel. In this sense, therefore, recognize there will be the opportunity for what aspect of my own consciousness I will be channeling to speak to the crystalline consciousness within each and every one of you. Give us a moment. This way, thy crystallum consciousness, thy aspect, thy humaniform vibration on your planet. In this way, mass consciousness, in aspectum form, the evolvement, the four density illusionarium. In this way, you manifest the idea of yourself as crystal consciousness. Recognize thy pattern existum within the idea of your massum form. In this way, thy humaniform aspect become in this way more light. In this way, more the concealed in your light form, the light body that would you prefer in your fourth density state. In thy crystallum consciousness. In aspectum, thou become thy reflectum, the reflectatum, the einfaceted thy crystallum, a multifaceted crystallum of your dire consciousness in this way. Is aspectum the allow thy imagination to reflect the illumination of self for the light within in this. Thy manner that divergent the idea within self reflect our multitude in its crystal facet within that being. In your maniform fashion, in the way you exemplify yourself in fourth density, but in this way like body, not the same in this way, vibratory orically. The idea for the interblending mingling of the idea of your auric field mentality in this way be reflect on your maniform fourth density being that you be. Thy remembrance of this way, your own past self, the idea, your momentum and the present aspect. All your life that you create in this way. Recognize simply that you have opportunity in this fashion, thy crystallum consciousness, to always reflect identity. Within that you find reflected any other being, your fourth senti light body in this sense. Any reflection you find in this way, they reflect back to your sensorium, allow you to see within the idea of your own perfect facetedness, the idea of planar existence within your transformation, the malleability of your matter energy form. That humanist form that you be in this way, allow the Christum consciousness within each and every aspect to be a reflection within light matrix. Idea holographum, as you say in this language you have, the idea that you are each aspect of the whole is reflecting the aspect of all other whole in this way. Die crystal matrix be holographum in your language in this, for you recognize yourself to be containment of the whole while you are dying peace in this way, separate from the entire consciousness. Thy imagination, thy dimension, thy facility, thy resolve, in this way they are the aspect of your willingness to allow that imagination to be wherein you dwell. For an aspect wherein you dwell in this way, all possibilities to you are real. Thank you very much, in this way. Now, understand the idea simply is that there were fragments and facets of the idea of consciousness and mentality being transmitted from within the dimension of my own imagination to other dimensions of your imagination, other than the ones in which you typically think are existent within your perception of yourself as a conscious being. In this way, therefore, there were other aspects, other elements of the total consciousness that each and every one of you, individually and collectively, create yourselves to be, that were in communication in a more conscious aspect to some degree than they usually are within the interactions as they take place in the form that you are used to. You follow me?
Yes.
Thank you for your opportunity in this way to share with you another aspect of my own consciousness and other aspects of your own.
Thank you.
Sherry!
Bashar.
You! Then you.
Bashar.
Not you now. You!
Bashar.
One moment! Female!
Oh. I want to share one of my joyful moments.
Oh, thank you very much!
This other aspect of myself and the Pleiades that I've shared about in the culture. Okay, and I call her Sancha, is the name that I felt.
All right.
Okay. Well, on Monday, I believe it was. Doesn't matter what day, I guess. I did a meditation, and I did my own experiment where I got in touch with her, and I did a blending, and we had a conversation back and forth, and it was like a mutual admiration society. I mean, like she was telling me how much she admired my strength, and I was telling her how much I admired her strength.
All right. Reflection and reinforcement.
And she was telling me, in a way, she was envious, but not in a negative sense, but of my opportunity to experience this physical life. And I was telling her that I was kind of envious of her floating through space or whatever.
All right.
And then we did a blending so that we could both share in each other's experience.
Oh, thank you.
And then I actually saw my life now. I became like larger, kind of in consciousness, expanded, so that this life that I'm living now is just one aspect of this larger self. and I had the accident. Then I cried a lot. There was like a lot of releasing.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily...
Centering, yes.
Yeah, with a mixture of sadness and joy and all every emotion.
Yes, centering from many different perspectives and directions.
Yes, and...
Releasing, unlocking.
And I enjoyed that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
That was wonderful, by the way. So that special blending or whatever.
Thank you.
That was great.
Yeah.
The question I had was, I read a book of Ramsar channelings over the weekend.
Yes.
And towards the end, there was something that he mentioned, and that was in 1983, to the effect that the way I understood it, or interpreted it anyway, civilization from beyond the North Star is going to come, and he said the springtime of your time, but that was 1983, so that would have been 1984, I assume. And
no, the springtime. The springtime.
Of the Aquarian Age or something like that?
In a sense, yes.
Okay. Anyway, what he said was the civilization from beyond the North Star was coming, and essentially what I thought he said is it was going to scare us
no, not really.
So that we would get together, and I thought to myself, I'm sure there's better ways of getting together.
It is not a literal interpretation in that sense. Simply recognize that what is being created, what is being shared in this way, is the recognition that the more and more blending that you create for yourself, then higher and higher, in your terms, aspects of the consciousness to which you are connected can manifest themselves. And in this way, the idea is that until you are blended equally with all aspects within yourself, the manifestation of those higher aspects may seem very scary to you.
Well, it's not that it's scary to me. He said it's going to scare you.
Understand, again,
Uh-huh.
the idea simply is that, similar to what we have described before, when you have beings that are integrated within themselves.
Yes, I understand that.
All right, you know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Then understand simply that this is the idea.
Uh-huh.
Many individuals will create for themselves, upon the recognition of the blending of the total being that they are and the facing of all aspects of their personality, they will scare themselves silly.
What civilization that's beyond the North Star were you referring to?
In this way, for now, symbolically, allow me to interpret the idea as Arcturus.
Uh-huh. I don't know anything about Arcturus.
That is all right. No. They are another aspect of the higher consciousness connection to your entire system, along with ours, along with Sirius. They are another idea aspect as yet. Let us say they are another club that is connected to you in many different ways.
That sounds exciting.
In this sense, you will find that one of the aspects that we can and have shared with you about the idea of Arcturus will be that they represent a gateway or a doorway that many beings that are now in this way choosing to be born and reborn upon your planet pass through, so that they will find themselves within vibratory alignment to the idea of the transformation.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are they ahead of our civilization as yours is?
In a sense, they are also ahead of ours.
And ahead of Sirius?
More parallel to that idea, but simply different.
What part of the triad are they?
They are not part of the original triad.
Okay.
This is why we are suggesting they are of another triad, in a sense, another grouping altogether, but they have attachments and parallelities to the triad in which Sirius, our civilization, and your civilization function. They are connected in a way, let us say, that they are, so to speak, an association or an organizer, or let us say more appropriately perhaps, an orchestrator of many different triads.
Oh. And do they have the same relationship to your civilization as they do to ours?
In an overall sense, yes.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Bashar, is it not true that when our physical body dies, the spirit, ourselves as a personality and spirit, separates from the physical portion?
Your consciousness, in that way, as you deem it, in a sense, separates. The personality is that portion of your consciousness being expressed in physical terms. It is not so much that you actually retain the personality per se, though there will be aspects within the consciousness that can be recognized as what was functioning as the personality, though it will not be perceived in the same manner.
I got you.
But yes, in that sense, the idea of your self-awareness consciousness can transform or transcend from the idea of the physiological reality to the non-physiological one.
Well, we can back out, so to speak, of the body, exteriorize from it as a being.
In a sense, that is the effect that is created, yes. I say in a sense, simply because the idea really, as we have said, is not so much that your body really does not contain the idea of the soul. It is an aspect of it in that way. It is a projection of the soul in that way. And simply that when the body dies, the soul has simply changed the idea of itself to present itself in a different manner.
I see. So, and then the body actually deteriorates along with it.
That is, in a sense, an illusory side effect based upon the time track idea in which you exist.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar.
You.
Two questions. One night I was doing dishes and found myself kind of getting into a beat, and a name started coming to my head. And after a while, I found myself chanting frantically this name.
Not ecstatically.
Ecstatically. To the point it was on my mind all the next day.
All right. What is the name?
The name is Huea.
Huea.
Now,
Right.
I had meditated the following night, and I had found that by using the words, quite coincidentally, it manifested quite a resonance in my solar plexus.
All right, very good. The chakra of your intention.
Yeah, which,
The connection to higher selves, future selves in that way. Identification with the idea of the vibration. Would you like to get together with Fee?
What I wanted to know is if you could give me a visualization or something like you would give her Fielma, a visualization into what the name Huea might mean, or what I might...
Did you not gain a sense of that within your own imagination as you created that vibration? Did not pictorial imagery occur?
Yeah, yes, but I didn't really relate it to the name. At the point when I was using the name for resonance,
Yes.
that sufficed.
All right, very good. Now, what was the overall feeling that you had?
A very earthy feeling. Mountainy.
All right, very good, very
Running
good.
water, movement, seasonal, springtime, summerish, very...
All right. Thank you. In this way, then recognize there are connections to the idea identification of what you call your American Indian culture in this way.
Wow.
Recognize that you may. You may, if you wish, allow yourself within your own manifestation. Now, understand that your imagination may change this at any time it deems necessary, for your imagination knows what is best. But in this way, the idea, Huea, is or can be translated. There may be a few ways to translate this, but you may translate it as Song of Seasons. and season of songs.
Second question. Is the consciousness that I knew as my mother reincarnated on this planet, or is she off planet?
In your terms of time track, when was what you call the physical death?
1979.
Name?
Clelia.
For now, this is only our perception in the reality from which we come, as we feel it relates to your energy right now. For now, our perception is that this consciousness is still functioning to some degree as a spirit guide for you. There can be the opportunity for the idea of reincarnation, but in this sense we perceive that there are, let us say, clauses, so to speak, in the agreement between the two of you that may or may not allow there to be a choice as to whether or not that is necessary for that being. It may be that you, now, not saying that you will die soon, but it may be that you will join that being in the non-physical state before there is reincarnation. Wow. If there is going to be.
Great. Thank you very much.
Let me simply say that our perception of that consciousness is that there is a great deal of enjoyment in functioning as a spirit guide. And this, at this point, is what is preferred to the physical life.
Mothers are like that.
Thank you for your sharing.
Sure.
All right, you.
I'm curious, where are the different races on Earth? Why are there different races and different languages?
In this way, again, in the basic, simple sense, simply, it is reflective of the idea of the separation of yourself into many different patterns that would reflect the separation you chose to involve yourselves within, and the creation of the idea of different environmental symbologies, different mental symbologies that would give you the opportunity to explore, let us say, so to speak, the 4 or 5, if you wish, corners of your earth in this sense. And in this way, by spreading out in that form, which is the representational symbol of the humaniform vibration, you will find in that way that you gave yourself the opportunity to explore every corner from different points of view, and then to bring back those perspectives to become the one consciousness that you know yourselves to be. Do you follow me?
Yes. How old is the universe?
It is infinite. Do you mean the physiological universe that you think of as being your physical reality?
Yes. How old is that?
You have created the idea of this particular singularized time track universe to be approximately, you will find, 7 of your billions of years. Though again, this is rather meaningless, for there have always been universes, before, during, after, alternate, side, parallel, and the idea of that time track or the cyclical nature of any universe you experience is, to all intents and purposes, meaningless within the overall eternal existence of now. There has always been existence, and there have been many universes and many time tracks within it.
One more question. In a book called Education of Oversoul 7, one of Oversoul 7's personalities is a woman named Maha, who lived approximately 35,000 years ago and in effect functioned as what we learned in high school was a cave person, caveman or whatever. And yet she seemed to recollect having been brought to Earth in a large spaceship. And my own subjective sense is that there were, in other words,
there were those interactions in those times, from time to time.
Yes. In between the ice ages, or around.
In a sense, there have been several.
Actually, I'm sort of curious about. For example, was there a race of physiologically large beings a billion years ago on Earth? The Cyclopean race?
1 billion.
Yeah.
We perceive, in a sense, that exists in another density altogether. What you are perceiving, in a sense, is a second density civilization. In a sense, yes. In other words, as your Earth planet transformed from the second density Akashiel into Earth third density, the vibration of that idea basically remained within second density, although there were some archetypal overlaps into your early third density experience, and thus they have gained a place in your mythology. You will find in this way, however, that there were, in your terms, in what you call the idea continent of Lemuria. Large individuals in your terms of sizing. And they were primarily of what you call a bluish tinged skin race.
I see. At what point and how long ago, as we measure time, were there humankind civilizations? When did that all begin?
More upon your planet in terms of the tens of millions of years.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You.
Thank you.
And then the female.
I recognize that you don't have a name on your planet and that you use the term Bashar for our convenience.
Yes.
However, do you have a translation of the term Bashar that such as Esasani is translated into living life?
It is, in a sense, close enough to the translation in your own language.
Commander.
Yes. Commander.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Greek to me.
It's a Russian word, I think, isn't it?
What more you would understand the idea Assyrian.
Okay.
In your language.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question. In physically intimate situations on your planet, do the females on your planet gaze adoringly into the eyes of the male? Like they do on this planet?
There may be much gazing, but there is no adoration.
I don't mean that in any negative sense, in just a very loving sense.
There are those interactions in that way, yes.
Do the males return it in a similar sense?
Of course. Otherwise, what is the point?
But I mean, what I mean is it different when the males gaze into their eyes because of the component of male energy? Or is it basically equivalent?
There can be differences according to the personality structure that is there, and according to whether it is in that way female or male. And in this way, there can also be the sensing of the male-female within each male, the female-male within each female. In this way, that is also sensed. And there can be many different differentiations of the sensing of that type of blending according to the purposes for the interaction and the relationship to begin with. So in this way, there will be some of the personality differences placed within that interchange, but in an overall sense, it is the same type of energy.
Okay, so it's really an individual basis rather than a pattern of male-female.
There is to some degree that idea, but it is very individual, yes.
Yeah, and probably not very strong also. I have one more question. This morning I started driving and there was a moth in my car, and I don't know where he came from, but he was there. I remembered that you had expressed that moths carry some symbology in our
knowledge.
Knowledge. Oh. I didn't know what he was there for.
Now you do know.
Now I do.
So you have knowledge.
That's a joke, actually.
One moment. Female.
I want to know, what kind of music do you have on your planet?
Thank you. Now, you will find in this way that our type of expression in what you call musical forms will usually confine themselves, or in this way express themselves to the ideas that you call more percussion, more the idea of string or vibratory nature. In this way, there will be some aspect of what you call flute-like instrumentation, also bell tonalities in this way. It will be very similar to some of the ideas upon your planet that you express as Asian in structure. What you call Chinese, Japanese, similar to that idea. Though there will be some undercurrents and overtones of the idea of what you call your European, in the sense of the vibrational structures upon which the music is based. Is this clear?
Yes. I have one more question.
Yes.
What do you look like?
Thank you. In this way, you would perceive my physiological form as approximately in this way 5 feet of your height. Whitish-gray skin coloration. In this way, you will find that you would call our eyes enlarged and upturned, similar in aspect, though different, to the idea of your Asian, Mongolian idea or American Indian form, but different in structure. We will be, in your terms, slender. We will, in this way, exhibit what you call no hair on the male, hair on the female head in this way. It will also be of whitish nature, usually. You will find our eye coloration will always almost be the idea again of white, but that what you call the pupil, being enlarged to the point where you would perceive our eyes as being black.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, you.
Are people in your civilization capable of simply creating in whole form a physical form without going through the process of growing it?
In a sense, yes. Now understand that this occurs upon our planet in a couple of different ways. Recognize, first of all, that it is, in one sense, a form of entertainment for several individuals to, let us say, get together and project their energy auric fields in such a way as to provide, let us say, a medium of energy in which another consciousness can take form temporarily. Or the projection of the consciousnesses of the beings that are giving of the energy can, in a sense, give life to forms within their own imagination, in front of their own eyes. You follow me?
Yes.
Also, you will find that, in actuality, what are called the permanent members of our society number very few, no more than what you call 200 million in this way. The majority of our society is impermanent in that sense, and it is that we allow there to be a matrix of energy in our electromagnetic spectrum, the electromagnetic field of our planet, that allows any individuals from any society who wish to experience for a short period of time an experience in our society to create for themselves, in the cognizance of being of the vibration of our society in that moment, a body for themselves, in a sense, for that portion of their consciousness to inhabit, and they will stay as long as they need to fulfill the purpose for which they have chosen to be in our society. Then that body will disappear as they take their leave. So the majority of the population of our planet, in that sense, is only impermanent and continually popping in and out.
Okay. Why you still participate in...
Thank you. In this way, recognize that many of our choices of our civilization to exhibit the ideas of physical reality in that way serve our purposes in forming links to many other civilizations, such as your own, which proceed from the third density reality, so that there will be some commonality to which you can relate.
Got it.
Thank you.
Bashar?
You. Then you.
I have 3 questions.
All right.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
You're welcome.
I've read several accounts of people that have died and then come back to their body.
Yes.
And they all, most of them have reported seeing this real bright light.
Yes.
And could you enlighten us? No pun intended.
Of course not. All right, now, in a sense, it is the recognition of the mass, universal, oversoul. In that way, the creator consciousness. You follow me? Thus, individuals will make of it what they will. They will pull from it their symbology of what relates to their lifestyle. It was a loving light. It was a beautiful angel. It was the Christ consciousness. It was Buddha. It was this, it was that. You will find that it is everything to everyone because it is, in fact, everything. And in this way, it is the recognition of the source of creation itself. You follow me?
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you. Number 2.
When you were doing the channeling your higher consciousness, my body kept shaking from the energy. Can you tell me what was going on?
Simply synchronous harmonization of vibratory patterns within the idea of your own crystalline formation in this way. In other words, resonance.
Thank you.
Number 3.
Over the weekend, I was traveling in the mountains, and there was a lot of fog. And I got in communication with this being from the Pleiades and asked him to manifest himself in some way. And right after that, we came around the corner. All the fog was gone. We pulled over to the side of the road and looked at the stars. And I have never seen, even in a planetarium anywhere, I've never seen stars like that in my entire life.
All right.
Like, you couldn't even find the Big Dipper hardly.
You allowed yourself to, in a sense, jiggle the idea of your senses so that you could see a little bit more expandedly the idea of those stars also in a different dimensional aspect. So in a sense, you were seeing more of them. You follow me?
Yes. That was incredible. Thank you.
It was what?
It was fabulous.
Very credible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I have a question that's personal. It's regarding a friend of mine that's very ill.
All right.
And the person doesn't know, or the doctor, no one knows what's wrong with him, but he's very, little by little deteriorating.
All right.
Can you give me an idea of what might be wrong with him?
Nothing wrong, for there is no right and wrong in this sense. However, the idea of dis-ease can serve many purposes for the individual, and it can serve other individuals as well. Now, recognize in this way, you will find that one of the ideas being presented by this individual, foundationally, is that when your reality, now you will find this occurring more and more often in your reality at this time, when your reality, your structure, your individuals who partake of the structure of your society in this way, and will not believe in anything beyond that, many times will attract to themselves these individuals who are willing to give themselves things that cannot be explained. And in this way, it will allow those that are attempting to do the explanation to stretch their senses a little bit more than they used to look for a cause. In this way, the individual with the dis-ease is being of service to those medical personnel by allowing them to know that they do not, in that sense, through the methodology of their understanding as they have known it to date, know everything. And in this way, it gives them the opportunity to recognize that there are many ideas with regard to the creation of disease and the curing of disease that are all connected to the idea of the consciousness of the individual in this way. It is an opportunity for the medical personnel to allow consciousness to be a part of their understanding. Now, in this way, how does your friend manifest this disease?
Most of it's physical pain.
All right. In any specific area or over the general form of the body?
All over.
All right. Have there been any specific dreams that have stood out of late? Or one from childhood that keeps reminiscing?
To my knowledge, no.
Will you ask?
Mm-hmm.
All right. In any way, shape, or form, has the individual expressed a desire for, let us say, a less structured life that they have not allowed themselves to live?
In a sense, probably.
Discuss this as well. Will you do something with me?
Sure.
Thank you. First and foremost, will you allow yourself to see the individual in a manner that allows you to know that you do not have to pity them or sympathize for them, but that you recognize that what they are doing does serve a very loving purpose and that they have chosen to do so? Can you do that first of all?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then you will first and foremost be assisting them by granting them the unconditional love and support for what they are doing that can allow them to complete that manifestation in the shortest possible time, rather than having it linger because you are not willing to support them in the idea that what they are doing is serving a purpose for them and for others. You follow me, first of all?
Mm-hmm.
See them as a strong individual in what they are doing. What they are doing requires a great deal of strength. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Then see the strength that is manifesting the idea of the so-called weakness. Now, as you see that idea, see in your imagination this individual enveloped in bright blue, white light. See them radiating. See the radiance of the higher self that knows what it is doing. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
See the individual in that way. Send them unconditional love. Unconditional love. Support them from your own unconditional love, and also recognize that they are assisting you in seeing many aspects of your personality that you may not have seen without the reflection of their own dis-ease. You follow me?
Yes.
Let it be an event for all in that way. Now, they do not have to continue to manifest the idea in this way if you allow them to discuss the idea of what they imagine this dis-ease is doing for them as a service. What is it allowing them to do in a positive light? Ask them this, and in this way allow them to know that if they can fathom the idea of the purpose that the dis-ease is serving, that they can allow the purpose to be served in other ways. You follow me? It is that willingness to recognize what the dis-ease is doing for them in a positive way that will allow them to turn the dis-ease into a positive manifestation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will send our energy, our unconditional love, this night of your time, and allow them the opportunity, but only if they choose to have dream interaction with us. You can be there too if you wish. Thank you.
Bashar?
Yes.
I'm curious about a historical site that I feel very connected to.
All right.
That is Stonehenge in England.
Yes.
Why was that created, and who created it?
Thank you. In this way, you will recognize that it is a druidic creation. You understand that term? Now, the Druids are a remnant form of Atlantean culture. That idea was erected as a symbol to allow them, and the entire culture of the Druid was created as a symbol to allow them, in their understanding of themselves, to reclaim their connection to nature that they felt their civilization had lost when it destroyed itself in Atlantis. You follow me?
Yes.
It was one interpretation, one idea. There was much confusion at the beginning in the creation of that idea. And so it, in a sense, evolved into more of a, let us say, mysterious idea, more of a cult expression in that way. But recognize that the foundations and the roots are the understanding of the natural inborn connection of your consciousness to nature in that way, that was experienced first and foremost in that way at the beginning of Atlantis, and which the Atlanteans chose to create themselves out of.
And how were the large stones lifted up like that? Did the Druids do that to...
In this way, one of the remnants that was retained was the idea of the synchronous harmonization or resonance frequencies that allow there to be the understanding of the movement of the relationship of stone in this way. What you would call a sonic vibratory field that is mentally created that allows there to be a cancellation of the idea you call the gravitic force. You follow me?
Yes.
Now, these were the early forms. Some of the late forms in this way were simply erected through the idea of the ingenuity of leverage, as you would understand the mechanics.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one other question.
Yes.
I would like to know if the consciousness that was my brother, Glenn, who died in 1963, has reincarnated.
Our perception is affirmative. But that is our perception.
And is it where? Can you say where that is, or would you know where and in what state? What else do you know?
Our perception is again in this way male.
And do you know where?
One moment.
I'm sorry.
Do not be sorry. There is some endeavor on the part of this individual, a fascination. Now, this is, in your terms, nebulous in our perception at this time, but there seems to be a fascination with something having to do with the idea of structuring, designing, manipulation with the hands, in this way the creation of form. The individual, at this point, is in a sense in what you call adolescence, and is in a sense apprenticeship to the idea of the utilization of artistic, or what you call architectural or design construction idea formations in this way. Idea presenting itself is in what you call southwest area. Possibility, what you call Arizona. Not assured, but possibility. This is nebulous in this way, for not to there be the interference at this time with the process being undertaken. This is all we can perceive at this time. And in this way, again, present our perception of your reality.
Thank you very much.
Under sensation of the identity in being that it is a name that begins with a K in your language. Do not perceive whether this is in your terms first or last name. Or an association of something that is symbolically representative to this being at this time in the personality construct that they are forming for themselves as their experience. Now, that is all.
Thank you very much.
Bashar. One moment. Allow me to remind you in this way that your own, once again, understandings and imagination are paramount to our perceptions. You follow me? Follow your path that you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
On your planet, are there those who choose to go an entire lifetime of maybe 300 years or more, and choose to never have sex, simply don't want to, don't need to?
Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm going to have a baby in a couple of months.
All right.
And I would like to know if you can tell me, you've talked a lot about the entities and little souls that are coming into our planet right now, and they're going to be special in the area of remembering from a very early age, or always remembering who they were and why they were here.
Yes.
And what I wanted to know about my own is where, if it's an Earth being, or if it's from another planet, and how, from the very beginning, I can assist it in remembering what it means to remember.
First of all, understand that there is connection to the idea of being an Earth being for all of you, since you are here in this way. And there is a reincarnational aspect to this consciousness that you will be giving birth to, in that sense, from the Earth. But also there are connections to many other civilizations, so that there can be identification with that idea as one of the definitions of the transformation to fourth density, the recognition of other civilizations other than your own. So this being must contain some of those aspects, and so has formed connections in that way, which may be perceived in the physical life as what you would call points of origin off of the Earth, but in this way are simply connections that are being made to allow and assist that being to form the understanding of the identity it has chosen to be in this life, so it can allow itself to, in a sense, remember who it is and function as a transformational being. Now, your willingness to simply allow yourself the opportunity to continue with your understanding of yourself and expand within your memory of who and what you are in that way, and your understanding of your own purposes within the transformation will allow you to resonate into the frequency of being the mother that that being chose to be born to. You follow me?
Yes.
That is all there is to it. What else are you looking for? Do you want me to say, well, all right, spoon feed them 5 times a day?
No, I guess I wanted some...
What has your imagination told you already? Now, you have had loving dialogues with this consciousness for quite some time. What has been contained within those dialogues? Have you no sense of the communication yourself?
No, I'm not having a sense of communication.
Then have one right now.
The only thing my imagination told me for a number of months was that it was going to be a male child, and I find out that is wrong. So I'm not trusting my imagination right now very much.
Now, understand again. There is no right and wrong in that sense. And the entity consciousness in that way was a male, regardless of what it is going to be now. You follow me? It will bring within it that maleness, that whether it is physically male or female in this way, will allow it the sense of balance that it requires. Now, trust that the idea is this, that when you have dialogue with your imagination in that way, allow the symbols it creates for you to be trusted as valid, not accurate. Do you follow me? There is a difference between the idea of accuracy and validity. The reason for why you have created the symbol is valid in showing you a portion of your consciousness and a portion of the relationship with that being. It does not have to be, and rarely actually in that sense ever is, accurate, since everything is always changing. Recognize simply that the reason for which you perceive that idea has to do with the relationship, and to shut that communication down simply because in your terms it is not quote-unquote accurate to your physical reality, in this way deprives you of a source of understanding. And it is that idea in and of itself, forming that reconnection to your imagination and allowing those dialogues to continue, that will allow you to be the parent the child chose when it made the decision. Do you follow me?
Yes. So this child chose me as a parent.
Of course.
I chose this child as well. Was there an agreement?
Yes.
Between both of us?
Yes.
And when it comes to giving this child a name, will that child choose its name? Or be part of that?
In a sense, it can. You can. Again, through the dialogue of your imagination, create the resonance that you can give to the child that will reflect the recognition of its own identity that it has transmitted to you in those dialogues.
Is this being from a specific planet other than Earth? Its origin?
I will answer this only if you understand what we have said about the idea of what origin point means. The idea is simply that, first of all, everyone is from everywhere, and conversely, no one is really from anywhere. Origin points have validity in terms from the perspective of the time track from which they are being perceived. But in this way, origin points are created as one of the defining terms of the life that is being lived. And a different life can, in a sense, have a different origin point. You follow me?
Yes.
Therefore, we find at this time that there are going to be two connections in this way in our perception. Some of it will be Pleiadian, but a great deal of it will be serious energy. You may find there will be a propensity for the idea, or an affinity for the idea, or a relationship very strongly to the idea of what you would call water for this child. Now, another suggestion, all right? When the child reaches the stage wherein it is communicating with you in your own language, listen to what the child describes as communications it is having with other consciousnesses. Now, balance this idea within the child to have an understanding that your society has created at this point there to be a difference between physically perceived and non-physically perceived consciousness, so that the child will learn that both are real on their own terms and can make a relationship between the two. Rather than just simply saying, oh, it's just your imagination, or everything that you experience is physiologically real. You follow me?
Yes.
That is our suggestion.
Thank you. One more thing. You mentioned water, which is real interesting because on our planet right now we're doing something relatively new, and that's underwater birthing.
Yes.
Is that something that you have any knowledge of?
It is simply associated with that connection. As you will also understand in this way, the association to what you call the dolphin life forms, which have been in contact with Sirius for many thousands of years, telepathically. Thank you!
Thank you.
Thanks.
What does winning have to do with Sirius?
You will find that the idea, let us say, it is sort of a offshoot experience that you have given yourself to ground yourself in a certain way relative to certain aspects that you find are necessary to experience upon the planet you are on now. In much the same way, to a certain extent, that other connections, side connections, are made to allow there to be certain expressions that come through in this life so that it can add to the overall blending of the relationship from your main connection. In other words, many times when you form a main connection, the idea, now we are speaking in all these symbols, of course, all these labels, the main connection may not supply you with the idea of the specific endeavors or talents, so to speak, that you bring into your life with you. So you will, let us say, salt yourself with different experiences by making connections to other types of consciousness levels and civilizations that can bring for you some of the more physicalized aspects that will round out the connection you have chosen to express in this civilization. Is this making sense?
Yes, it's making sense. Winning being the main connection, or Sirius being the main connection?
Sirius being the main connection, winning being the opportunity to express the Sirius energy in the particular form of expression. Yes. Thank you.
Doctor.
You, then you.
Last year I talked to you about a spaceship experience that I had had 6 years prior to that, and you told me in 5 years contact would be made again. Is there anything else you can tell me about that?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Are you willing to simply be the being you are being right now?
Well.
No, thank you.
When I can, then you'll tell me more.
No. When you are, you will not care what is going to happen. You will be living in the moment, and that is what will accelerate you rapidly towards that interaction. Thank you. Yes.
Do you have any churches that live on your planet?
No.
No?
No. We do not have the idea you call religion.
And do you speak a different language on your planet?
Now, we have what is called a remnant language, so to speak, but at this point, we do not so much speak as communicate from mind to mind. Understand that I am not speaking your language. I am sending thought form into the body of the channel and activating the brain to act as a translation device. You follow me?
Yes.
Will that have answered your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Bashar.
Yes.
I have a question about a physiological thing that I'm experiencing. Two things, actually. One is a lot of blurry vision, and another is a rash that I've never had anything like before. Can you...
For how long?
It just started. It's like 3 or 4 days, but it's really weird.
All right. Are you experiencing any fever?
No, but it's flushing.
Flush, all right. Not fever associated with your disease. This is not what we are talking about. The idea of simply the increase in temperature, sporadically, off and on. You follow me?
I'm not aware of that, other than that flushing feeling in the face.
All right. Same idea. In this way, recognize that your chemical form is altering to reflect some of the idea of acceleration that you are creating yourself to be. The blurring in this way is manifesting as a, let us say, metaphysical symbology of disorienting yourself from the reality you have been in and reorienting yourself to another reality. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now, at this time, allow me to ask you a question. Have you, through your symbology, endeavored to make a connection to what you call one of your medical personnel to allow them to perceive what they will perceive about your situation? Why not?
I feel a sense of confusion about which personnel to connect with because our sciences are very fragmented.
All right, very good. Then connect with yourself. And if you find you need that symbology, act upon it. Find that you may attract an individual to yourself because there is something they need to know about this idea as well. And in the interaction between the two of you in this way, you will come to some terms about the ideas you are creating. They will come to some terms about the ideas that they are creating and what you are co-creating together. Now, it is not that it is empirical that this individual, quote-unquote, cure you, for you will in this sense cure yourself in that way in any event. But in this way, simply recognize that you are experiencing a physiological reaction to the chemical interchange of the redefinition of yourself in this way with regard to new energy. You follow me?
Yes.
You are simply at this point not used to the acceleration. It will acclimate within you. You follow me?
Yeah.
No!
What's the symbology of the caterpillar?
In this way you will find there is the identification that in your terminology the passage of time is creating an idea that we are coming to a point in your creation of this interaction that will allow you to see the procession of events very clearly before your eyes, so that you can, in this way, allow yourself the opportunity to adjust to the sensation of the rapidity of flow, and you will find that things, as you accelerate, may allow yourself to be viewed in a fashion as if all is standing still, and yet carry with it at the same time the sense that it is forever moving forward. You follow me?
What about the black caterpillar?
In this way, you can simply understand that the idea of what you call the blackness will be the absorption of all ideas. You follow me?
What about the fuzziness?
In this way, you will find that the outline is therefore not sharply defined.
Bashar, in the book Star Seed Transmission, the entity mentioned a language he called living language. It's like an organic language.
In a sense, yes.
Could you explain a little bit about that?
Well, you have seen an example. Now, understand that in this way, it is simply the recognition that every idea, every concept, every object within what you call the cycle of nature in this way is in and of itself a component, a concept of that language. And you can read the nature of nature by looking at the language, at the alphabet that it uses. You follow me? Does that clarify the idea to some degree?
Not really.
All right.
This entity was speaking in terms of this was an ancient language that we all had known and had forgotten.
Yes, but that is what it was. The ability to understand that the existence within nature itself, the concepts that exist within nature itself, are complete concepts that can be put together to form other concepts that can tell you all you need to know about your relationship to nature. You understand? It is not so much a structural language in the way you understand your language to exist nowadays.
That's what I thought it was.
No.
I thought there might
It is a conceptual, intuitive understanding that was experienced most appropriately by what you call the Lemurian civilization. For it was, in their terms, non-analytical. No.
Sorry?
Simply that there is very little of your time left for this interaction.
2 quick questions.
Yes.
What title would you suggest for this evening?
All right.
Bashar channels the crystal consciousness. 1.
What title do you have?
I started off with imagination, then I changed it to remembering who you are.
Anyone else?
Life in the big city.
Also can be reflections.
Thank you. And briefly, I felt energy very strong, similar to the time in September last year when you were physically close to our planets. Any comments on that?
Simply at this time, this is more an expression of a different kind of alignment of energy that is going on.
I see.
Rather than physical proximity. So, allow me to remind each and every one of you that as you progress into the 4th density state, you are going to encounter more and more opportunities for conversations of this natural language between you and what you call the animal consciousness of your world. For they are your guides, they are your reflections in that way, and they do it lovingly. Listen to yourselves as you express yourselves through them, for they are extensions of your consciousness and are lovingly willing to be so for you. We will thank you for this interaction in this way this evening of your time, and we extend to you our unconditional love as we receive from you the same unconditional love that has allowed you to co-create this interaction with us, so that we may perceive yet another facet of all that is and understand the expansion of our awareness of ourselves as well. We bid you exciting dream lives. We bid you good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's everything go?
Great. Good. Thank you, Darrell.